Welcome to another episode of Branching Out with Sierra. Today we're on episode 11, Leadership by Design, Creating Environments that Drive Success with Yaron Linett. The purpose of today's episode is to dig specifically into that physical environment aspect of our wheel of life and consider the way in which the safety, security, comfort, functionality of the space in which we work and live can really be conducive to our growth and our ability to thrive. So I've brought in Yaron Linett, the principal designer of Formal Traditional today. And Yaron is one of my closest friends and has been for a while. And I'm really excited to have him share some of his expertise with you. I, of course, always read a bio at the beginning of the episodes, but I refuse to read Yaron's because I prefer to just explain that he is someone that I met a couple of years ago and really contributed to the growth of my business. He allowed me to break into the industry of interior design and spend a lot of time with designers from all over the world at this point. He was very helpful in networking with me and helping me to build relationships in the community and beyond, giving me business ideas, and has been a great friend throughout the process. So he's been very helpful in my life, but he's also extremely knowledgeable about design and making the most of the spaces in which we work and live. And I've learned a lot from him. So I'm excited to have him here to talk about not just design and the physical environment, but also as a business owner, his leadership in the business and community and beyond. So thank you for being here today, Yaron. I'm so excited to have you.
Thank you. And thank you for giving me permission to eat ice cream every time I want it. So it goes two ways.
Yeah, I guess it does.
Yes.
So, do you know the first question that I ask every single person?
I do. And I don't want to admit how much I've thought about it. So you want to know when I first considered myself a leader.
I do.
So you know that I am not a normal person and I overthink everything, and I've always been this way. So immediately when I heard the question, I thought back to when I was 3, and it's a little upsetting, right? So I remember I was in daycare, and we played Follow the Leader. And I had to wait so long for it to finally be my turn because a different leader would be chosen every day. And I finally got to be the leader. And I remember so clearly that tiny little room with one of those low little desks. And I'm walking around the desk and all the other kids are behind me. They have to follow me. And I started walking around the desk, and then I got to the last kid and I realized I was following the last kid, and I blew my chance to be a leader, Sierra. Now, like in Ouroboros, the snake eating its own tail, I wasn't a leader anymore, and it's always stuck with me.
I see that.
But that was the first time that I got to consider myself a leader.
For a very short period of time, even.
When other people have to do what you tell them to do, or choose to, more accurately. They didn't have to walk in line.
That is true.
Yeah.
So now that you're a lot further along in your career and in development in general, how has your definition of leadership changed from maybe that 3-year-old definition?
I think the whole notion of leadership is, I can come up with a synonym for influence, but whatever synonym I use, it really is. It is getting people to do things by any number of means. So there are leaders, typically we call them bosses, who tell you what to do and use force. Whether it's physical, emotional, financial, whatever it is. And then we have inspirational leaders we have the ones who motivate instead of force, which are what we often refer to as, the leader as opposed to the boss. And everybody can be that. All it takes is convincing one other person that you have a good idea and they should do it.
I like that. I like the comparison between the boss and the leader. There's actually this video I show in one of the courses that I teach where it's supposed to illustrate the difference between a boss and a leader, but I know you'd love this because it's a video of these dogs. Have I shown you this video?
No.
Okay.
No.
I feel like I failed you.
Well, you're saving it for a special occasion.
By the way, without reading the bio, I need you guys to know one of the most important facts about Yaron is obviously he's brought up ice cream already, but I'm pretty sure he likes dogs more than humans. Is that true? Safe to say?
Most of them.
Okay.
Most dogs and most humans.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, well, it is this video of these dogs out on the ice, okay, and they need a drink. And there is this one, I guess it's technically like a wolf, okay? It's a wolf. And he's jumping up and down on the ice to break the ice and be able to drink, right? He does it and he only breaks enough ice for himself to drink. And then when the others come over to try and join in and get a drink, he like snarls at them, right? So then this other one goes over to a different area, breaks the ice in a big enough space that everybody can come over and enjoy, right? And so then you have this image of that original one, like looking over at the impact that he had, right? What are your thoughts on that? You've been missing out on that video.
Yeah. So when I do sales training or I speak with people, so my degree is in sociology, and I really did a lot with industrial psychology and organizational sociology. We talk about the different types of people in an organization. Some people will break them into A type and B type, and there's DISC assessments and the like. But one way to talk about people is if they are cooperative or if they're competitive. So to use to mix our metaphors, we'll go to sports. You have the rookie who comes into the organization, right? The existing pitcher, quarterback, whomever, sometimes looks at that person and says, this is the person who, if I teach all of my tricks, will replace me and I'll be gone. And they view everyone else as a threat.
Yeah.
Or a highly competitive individual, and they say, I have to be the best, I have to train, I have to do it all. And you can only go so far. The other kind of individual is the one who says, I want to surround myself with the strongest possible team, because that's the only way we can win. No matter how good I am, I can't single-handedly beat all of the best people of the other team. I need to surround myself with the strongest people. And instead of being upset that here's this rookie who I'm going to teach my secrets to and then will replace me one day, especially in an organization, typically that then allows you to move up because you have put in place the pieces that allows you to continue on. So that's the first thing I think about when you bring up the analogy.
Yeah, that's a perfect example of that. And I'm thinking about the fact that you would want to help them to develop into a place where they replace you. When you leave the organization someday, you want someone to be able to take the reins.
As long as you are not the wolf sitting on the ice saying, if someone else takes the water, then there won't be any left for me.
Yeah.
There's plenty of water under the ice, but that wolf doesn't understand that.
Yeah. Well, Back to the idea of leadership and 3-year-old Yaron versus, I'm not going to share how old you are today. You're welcome.
I'm not worried about it.
How do you see yourself as a leader today?
Well, I think I'm a leader in a lot of ways. I'm the principal designer of our firm. I take the lead with all of my clients. So people hire us who don't know how to do what we do. They expect me to lead. Some designers come in, or whether you're a graphic designer, an artist, any service industry person, and they think I'm just going to present all the options and then you pick. Well, typically you're being hired because they want you to tell them what the right thing is. Not that we impose our taste on our clients, but if they loved matching colors and were good at it, they would not be calling us in the first place. So with clients, with my vendors, with partners in networking, with my son, everybody that you meet, everybody that you interact with, you have a chance to be a leader and to influence them, hopefully in a positive direction.
That's exactly why I have you in my life. We see eye to eye on that for sure. Another thing that we have in common is our disc style.
That's true.
It's one of the first things we figured out that we had in common. Can you explain what your disc style is and what that means about you?
Sure. So I am a CD individual, which means I am compulsive and domineering, which I'm very happy with the way I am. So even though I may phrase it in the most negative possible way, I'm very comfortable being me.
I'm going to change those words, and I'm going to say you're compliant and you're dominant. Just a little bit of a positive spin on that. So mine has actually flip-flopped, and I don't know if I told you this, that I'm DC now. So now I'm considered a challenger. Yeah. My priorities have shifted. Yes. So let's talk a little bit about physical environment. Sure. So we're going to switch gears. And what I want to know a little bit about is how you feel that physical environment can really impact someone's ability to lead effectively, whether they're leading themselves, whether they're leading others in a professional environment. How does physical environment connect with leadership?
Well, there are lots of ways. Typically, when you're a leader, you are looking to get something out of your team.
Okay.
So you can use a physical environment to enable them, to empower them, to help them be more efficient, or you can use your physical environment to frustrate people. So a famous example, McDonald's used anthropometrics, which is the study of human measurements, to intentionally make their benches uncomfortable so that it would hustle people out of their restaurant faster. Color psychology to make them hungry but irritated, and then uncomfortable seating to get them to eat quickly and leave.
Wow.
And McDonald's, if you would like to sue me, I welcome the publicity.
Stop. But that's the piece that's so interesting, because prior to meeting you, I never thought about the design of the space and how much thought goes into every aspect of the space, right? And how people would take the time to consider how a color might impact somebody's mood or their behavior.
Some people consider it, some people don't. You know, you've never been in a space that wasn't designed. You've never been in any building that someone didn't have to make the decision about what we're going to do for the floor, what color tile we're going to use, what we're going to paint the walls. Now, they may have put a lot of care into it, they may not have, but someone had to decide all of these things. So just like with everything else, as long as you put in a reasonable amount of time into determining these things, it's probably better to do it with intention.
Yeah.
So a lot of what we do is looking at spaces, whether it's residential or commercial, and talking to people about the experience that they want to have and how much easier things will be for them, how much happier they can be when things just function. There are times when people will design things intentionally, as we mentioned, to be frustrating, and there are times when they will intentionally design them to be, let's say, compliant. If you were left-handed and your workstation was set up so that every time you reached your left hand out, all the things you used with your left hand were on the left side, you would probably be much happier, and you could certainly be more efficient.
I agree completely, but I think this is where your level of detail comes in, because you've thought of so many things that I would have never thought of. So just even that left-handed example, right? Because I'm right-handed, I've never even thought about what challenge that might present to someone who's left-handed. So obviously a lot of people are working from home now. So they might be using their space at home for both personal and professional uses, and then thinking about just the professional workplace environment when we think of a corporate office or something. I want to kind of divide the two and talk about both.
Sure.
Okay. Which do you want to start with?
Let's do offices. Let's do commercial.
Let's start there. Okay, so let's say that I called you in and I said that, I really want to boost morale around here. I want my people to be happy. I want them to look forward to coming to work each day. I want to create a space that works for my people. What does that process even look like?
Well, our process remains the same, even though every client is different. So we would start with a consultation. We would come in and we would speak to you about the experience that you want to have in the place. We would ask you to go ahead and envision your clients or customers arriving and coming in and walk through your ideal scenario, how you want them to feel, what you want them to see, what they're going to do here. And we would also then talk about all the staff and management, same thing for them, what they do every day, everything that we'd like to be able to do that we can't now. And in the background, as I'm collecting all this information, I'm also thinking about both negative and positive reinforcement, rewards, as it were. Sometimes people say, I'm good, I want a treat, right? I've been good, I deserve ice cream.
I feel like I've heard that from you many times.
That's positive, right? That is positive reinforcement. You get something you want. Negative reinforcement is taking away something that you don't like. So saying, you were so good today, you can stay up late. I'm removing your bedtime. Instead of at 9, you can stay up till 10. Well, when we think about an office and the physical environment, there are positive things that we would like to add, and there are negative things that we would like to remove. One of the big things we look at are the things that people don't think about, that they don't know impacts them. LED lighting is not only much more energy efficient, but a lot of it doesn't have the noise that a percentage of the population can hear from the old tubes that drives them nuts. It also doesn't have the same flicker rate that is imperceptible to most people, but can cause migraines or even epileptic seizures. So we think about things like that. We think about migraine triggers. We think about whether or not the ergonomic seating is appropriate. If you don't feel good at work, and you might not even know why, that air quality could be poor, and you always just feel better on the weekends, and then you dread coming into work, even though you love your coworkers, you love what you do, but there's just something dragging you down. It could be an environmental thing that you have no idea about. So we try and eliminate those as well.
So even the lighting thing that you mentioned, I remember as a kid, I used to get a headache every day from those fluorescent lights. I knew that's what it had to be. And so I was miserable all the time. And then I chose to be an educator and continue to work in an environment with fluorescent lights all the time. Yeah. But I know that had to be it. And so that's just one thing. But I feel like that was the exact situation. I loved what I did and I loved who I was around, but I dreaded the Monday morning headache every week, but there wasn't really anything I felt I could do about it. Right. So what can someone do about it if they feel like the physical environment in the workplace, something's going on, something's not serving them well? What do you suggest they do?
Well, there are lots of things that it can be, right? If we're talking about your overhead lighting, we can replace the lights. It's very simple. If we're talking about air quality, we can bring in things that clean the air. A lot of people feel a lot better with plants. A lot of plants are very good at cleaning the air. That's why we often recommend bringing in like English ivy,
which you brought to my office, and I haven't killed.
That's
yet.
Typically harder to kill.
Okay, well, could you give me a little credit?
Yes, yes. But then again, much like your children's goldfish, if something happens, you can probably replace it, and no one's going to go, that's a different ivy.
Are you telling me that you realized that it was a different ivy?
Maybe not.
Okay, truth comes out. I've totally replaced the ivy before.
So, just once.
What are some key elements of the workplace that people should focus on? Maybe your favorite things to go in and change right away that you think have the greatest impact. Let's still stay on that corporate environment.
Right. So having a place for everything, right? Having that stuff where it's used, which really is residential also. But I'm working with a multinational infrastructure company right now, and they're putting in an office in DC, and they have this little alcove where their printer's going to be, and instead of filling up every single spot in that alcove, we've left some of it open. This is, what's this spot for? And I said, it's for the printer paper, because you guys do a lot of printing, and I want to make sure that you have a dedicated spot right by the printer for all of your printer paper. And it's the same thing with everything else. Wherever the stuff is going to be used, I want it there. I want the supplies next to where they're going to be used. I want the printer paper near the printer. I want, all of your kitchen stuff right next to your break room. It's going to make cleanup easier. It's going to cut down on hunting around for it. And when you use the last of it and you're standing right there, you'll know.
Yeah. Any other specific element? Okay, so organization is obviously important, making sure that you're using the space wisely and putting things where they make the most sense and they're easiest to access. Is there anything else you love working on, a specific element?
So, we really work holistically. So one of the things we do is we also ask them about what their brand values are.
Okay.
Because I want to make sure that those things are actually incorporated into the office if they are authentic. You know, the place who says, you know, what we love most is our family or our customers. And I walk in and there is literally nothing there. There are no pictures of their family. There are no pictures of their customers. There's no anything. I'm like, people are going to walk in and you can say it all you want, but they're not going to feel it. And they're not going to trust you. They're going to say, this is just something that they're saying.
Yeah.
They probably won't even mention it to you. So let's find out who you really are. Let's find out what you really love. And then let's bring that stuff in here in an appropriate way, right?
Yeah.
We can have a wall of all your pictures, right? If you walked into an obstetrician or a vet and they didn't have that picture wall with all their babies or their puppies and kittens, they're valid also, you would go, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. So a lot of people talk about, well, this is what's good for our business. You know, we want to portray ourselves this way or that way. And I say, you're going to have a much easier time if you are authentic. We put out there the things that you really love. People walk in there and they go, wow, I can really tell these are the things that you're passionate about.
Yeah.
And then they're just naturally going to gravitate to you. And do you really want to work with all the people who don't love the things that you love? Probably not.
Yeah, that's true. I love that you brought up values because obviously I spend a lot of time talking to people about their values, but I have to tell you, so I went to ribbon cutting recently. Actually, no, it wasn't their ribbon cutting. It was business and breakfast, Hang Ten Car Wash. And when I went in there, I was really excited because they had their values, their mission and their values posted all over the place, put up on the walls. It was beautiful. You could walk in there and see what you can come to expect from them. Right. So talking about alignment between those brand values and the things you look around and see, it was so obvious to me. So I have to commend Hang Ten Car Wash for that. They've done a great job.
And we have another, really easy local example too. Recently, a local sub shop, Veteran Subs, posted that they were having some difficulties. They were having a really down month, and they asked the community if they would help. And they put their brand values right out there, and everybody who supports those brand values flooded in, bought them out, I think 3 days straight, huge lines, and obviously that's fantastic. And I'm pretty sure anybody who doesn't support what they support, it's okay. They don't probably need you as a client anyway.
Yeah, you want that alignment. No, that was a perfect example. The community really came together, and I do think that it was helpful that they laid out, these are the things we value, and as you're reading them, you're assessing, oh, we're in alignment, I want to do something to support them.
Right.
So yeah, that is a great example. So we were talking about the corporate space, but with the rise of remote work specifically, I'm curious about how people can adapt their home offices to maintain professionalism as well. This is important. And productivity. I know some people, you might be working from your dining room table. You might not have a specific home office that you're working out of. And I know you and I have talked before when we talked about your ideal client. I think this is so clever. We always say, well, you say the one that is blurring their background on the Zoom screen, right? Yeah. It's true. It's true because they don't want you to see their background because maybe it isn't professional. So what can folks do when working from home to make sure, one, they maintain professionalism, and two, they've created an environment that helps them to be productive?
Sure. So First, I would say you want a dedicated space.
Okay.
You may not be able to have an entire room or basement or whatever, but you can still designate a spot as the spot you work.
Mm-hmm.
Just like you might dedicate a spot as the spot where your running shoes go.
Yeah.
Right? So you're going to pick a dedicated spot. Maybe it's in a corner. And then we can think about, once again, intentionally styling what is behind you to send an appropriate message when you are on Zoom or Google Meets or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
People can tell if you're there live or not. Additionally, having a dedicated space allows you to use some of these intentional strategies and make sure that everything you need to work is there. Doing that cuts down on distractions and having to stop so that I can go find more paper, I can find the pens, I can find where the charger is, my microphone, keyboard, whatever it is you're using. So knowing where it is, having it there for you, that makes you more efficient. And I don't remember what the statistics are, but I'm sure you can tell me how long it takes someone, once they stop doing what they're doing, to get back into it.
I've heard 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I don't know that makes it true, but that's what I've heard. On average, it takes 20 minutes to focus again at the level that you were previously.
Right. So if you get up once for coffee and you get up once because your phone is running out of charge and you don't have the charger with you, and you get up one more time because you got to answer the door or whatever, that's potentially an hour of lost productivity.
Yeah. Let's talk about getting up on purpose, though, because I want your feedback on this. This is something I wanted for a while, and I said I was going to get, and then I didn't. The desks that you can raise up and down so that I'm not just sitting all day. What are your thoughts on those?
So we're installing one.
Okay.
Like a big old soaking tub. I don't know how much anybody actually uses it. There are definitely people who move them up and move them down, and they sit and stand. These are also the same people who have the treadmill desk.
Yes.
So they sit there and they can exercise while they're working. Most people have, adjustable seats in their car, and they don't adjust them. You just put them in the one place where you want it to be. If you have an environment where you have multiple people coming through, it's fine. It is something else to break. So I would be more concerned about having a really good, comfortable, ergonomic seat than I would about sitting and standing. If fidgeting helps you, then perhaps.
The ergonomic seat part, I never realized how much of a difference that made until I sat in a nice chair before, because I feel like it really does make a difference. But for me, and especially the episode prior to this, I was talking a lot about health. I want to get up and moving more. And when my Apple Watch says, hey, it's time to stand up, it'd be really cool if I could just push one of those buttons and everything just raises up and I can follow instructions rather than going, joke's on you, I still have work to do. Right?
You can.
So now I'm going to have you hold me accountable to getting one of those.
So my nutritionist suggested that I try standing more.
Really?
And I was doing that for a while. I just didn't sit anymore, and it made a lot of people very uncomfortable. Like, why are you standing? Why are you so angry? You're sitting there with your arms folded, and I'm like, no, I'm just not permitted to sit now. So from just a social convention standpoint, especially when you have other people that you're interacting, they want you to be comfortable. They want you to be relaxed in your interactions. That's why we could do this podcast standing, but it would give a very different impression.
Yeah.
So I would say it might be better to be intentional with our time. You do your work, and when your Apple Watch says it's time to get some exercise, maybe a little more intentional, focused, let me go and take, instead of my 20 minutes sitting here trying to get back into it, let me just go up, let me actually walk or jog for 20 minutes, and then come back, sit down, and do my work.
Get back to it. That's another idea. I'll have to weigh my options. But if anybody has a stand-up desk they're not using and they want to let me try it.
I can get you a stand-up desk. Also, another option, as opposed to getting a stand-up desk, they have risers basically for just a portion of your desk so that it will lift your laptop instead of lifting the entire desk. And then you can use your existing desk. It's portable. You can take it with you. They're very inexpensive.
So we have options.
Yeah,
That's the great thing, is you always have tons of options. I like everything to be measurable. Is there specific criteria where you can actually measure the effectiveness of a workspace? Like, how do you, if you walk into a space, do you have a list of, I'm checking for these criteria that you're going down, or this is just all like intuitive for you?
It depends on the organization, right?
Okay.
And it depends on what metrics they measure. So for a place, once again, like McDonald's, they are timing everything. And, split seconds of efficiency over thousands of repeated tasks to them add up.
Yeah.
So, when you go there, they'll say, the way that you have this McDonald's kitchen organized is suboptimal because we have determined that, these utensils should be on this side. We have designed a specific device to place the correct number of dollops of ketchup on the burger faster. Our oven, or our cooktop is designed to simultaneously come down and cook on the top and the bottom at the same time.
Yeah.
Which is redundant since I said simultaneously. But that's the level of
It's like precision when it comes to time.
that some of these companies
Yeah.
need. Some of these companies will just look at it and say, hey, we're monitoring conversion rate or close, right? And we made some changes, and now people are happier. They're not leaving as frequently. They're closing more. It really depends on the scale of your organization, whether some of these things are, meaningfully measurable.
Yeah.
But really, what is the value of happier employees? From a bottom line, what is your cost to retain versus acquire and train someone? How long does it take them to get up and running? Making them 5% happier, if you can measure a happiness quotient, is probably a lot better than saying, okay, we're going to burn them out, get everything we can out of them, and then we're going to go find someone else who is going to learn to do everything that they already know.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, so I can't help but ask, do you have a favorite project that you've worked on before that you feel like you did for maybe a busy professional that allowed them to either be more productive in the space in which they were working or living, or enjoy the fun and rec at their own space so they have a little more balance in life?
I think the first thing that comes to mind isn't actually a project that I had done.
Okay.
It was a suggestion that I gave somebody, and they didn't listen to me. Years later, they were so excited. They called me to come out to their place, and they said, Yaron, look, I changed all the lights in my tiny little shop. And I said, yeah, good. I'm glad you got around to it finally. And he said, they cost me $1 more a light to go to these LEDs. I said, okay, but now you don't have to pay all the money to have someone go up there and change them out and fix the ballasts and everything nearly as often. And he said, I'm saving $200 a month on my electric bill. And, for a small business owner, that's potentially life-changing. That's hiring another part-time employee. It was, I thought, very impactful. It was good for the environment too, right? Use a little less electricity. So that's the first one that comes to mind. Sometimes these little changes can make a big difference, and I know that now none of the employees who work from him are going to get migraines from his old tubes.
Yeah.
Or his customers.
Yeah. So that's a great example of a small change, because my branching out challenge for this week, I was going to encourage someone to make one slight adjustment, one small change, and see how it impacted their work environment over the course of a week or 2 weeks. Did they notice any changes? So that is an example of, I can just literally change the bulbs. I don't have to hire someone to come in and change my bulbs. I can change it. Is there anything else that you feel like you can just do quickly and easily yourself that could have a big impact? If so, what?
Absolutely. So back to our biophilic design principles.
Yeah.
Get some plants. They cost almost nothing. You're going to feel better. Just put a couple plants, green, around you where you work.
Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah, I try to have some here. I have always found when I work close to a window, that's very helpful for me. So I always look for that space. I remember one year I was teaching in a classroom that was on the inside of the building, and I had no windows in my room. I just felt claustrophobic all the time. I didn't even know what was going on outside during the day. It's like I'd come into work in the morning, it was dark outside. I wouldn't see outside all day. I'd leave and it's dark outside, and I just felt like it was really impacting me mentally.
It's very, very hard on people. In that situation, I would probably suggest getting a fan, one of those super, super quiet ones, plugging it in, get a little air moving in the room. If you have a nice fixed strong light, I would want to put in a light bulb that maybe followed your circadian rhythm, right, and could get you the appropriate color of light at the appropriate times of day to sort of mimic that cycle for you.
Yeah.
And I might go ahead and bring in, because it's not going to survive in a no light environment, some very lightweight artificial plants, something with some leaves that I would position between the light and the fan, so that when the fan blew, the leaves would move, the light would dapple, and it would feel much more like a natural environment.
That's a really cool idea. I've always struggled with artificial plants and tried to figure out, where do they have a place? But that's a good point. When you're in a situation where there is no natural light, you kind of have to use them, but there's a way to make them look like more realistic.
Yeah, but and if you don't want artificial plants, there are other options as well, for people who insist on real florals. One of the things that you can do is you can use preserved ones. So they basically embalm them with glycerin. The capillary action will suck up the glycerin, and it preserves whatever the plant is, whether it's a succulent or, you want to do roses or tree branches, any of these things will work. And then you can have them. They're real. They feel real. They look real because they are, but they'll last easily a decade.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Okay, I want to shift gears. I had mentioned about, if there was a specific space that you had done that you enjoyed, whether they were working in the space or enjoying fun and rec, which made me think of balance. So I have to ask about balance. Do you believe balance in life is possible? And if so, what does it look like for you?
Yeah, I think balance in life is possible, but it's not about actually mathematically, making these things even. It's, a qualitative as opposed to a quantitative decision. When we talk about addiction, my mother is a substance abuse counselor and works social work and is a first responder. We talk about these things when they impact your life, right? When is playing this video game on your phone an addiction? When is it a problem? When it negatively impacts your life. If you want to, play words with friends or whatever game, you want, Fruit Ninja, I don't know, whatever the kids are playing nowadays.
Since you said Fruit Ninja, it leads me to believe that you used to play Fruit Ninja.
I have not played Fruit Ninja, but my mother did.
Oh, okay.
If you want to do this and it doesn't negatively impact your life, that's fine. But if you're sitting there all day, every day, you're not doing your work, you're not spending time with your family, you don't feel good about yourself, then that's a problem.
Yeah.
Right? So to me, balance is doing the work that you need to do and also making time for, all those other things in the quantities where you feel good about yourself, where your wheel of life is still rolling.
Yeah, look at you referencing the wheel of life.
There you go.
Is yours rolling, Yaron?
I could not tell you. Could not tell you.
It's
I'm not on rims.
I was going to say that the number of people that have come in here that they didn't walk in with a wheel of life in their hands.
I know.
We need an updated
mine is
one.
in my Sierra Learnership Collaborative green folder sitting in my office.
Folder.
Yes.
Look,
yes.
On brand even.
It is. Yep.
Okay, you are always teaching me things. You're very knowledgeable, but I know you're always learning and growing. What is something that you are actively learning more about right now or you've learned recently? How are you growing?
I was doing a lot more research into skiffs. Skiffs.
Tell me more.
So this is my embarrassing obsession stuff.
Okay.
Right.
Let's go. Bring it on. We've made it this far, and here he comes in.
Secure compartmentalized information facilities. So I met a gentleman at a networking event who builds skiffs for a living.
Okay.
And I was discussing my computer security background and having worked in a security operations center. And for part of the conversation, he assumed I knew way more about skiff construction than I did. And then he very quickly decided I knew way less about skiff construction than he had previously decided. So, in addition to saying, well, if I ever need a skiff designed for one of my clients, I know who to call, I said, I better go familiarize myself with all of the basic principles of secure, compartmentalized information facility design across the various different agencies, just in case someone needs me to speak intelligently
This is a very
about
C
this.
behavior.
So I put in an amount of time that didn't make me feel bad about myself learning about it.
Okay. So can you describe what that is in English?
Sure. So
I have no idea what any of that means.
when we have secret, top secret, kind of information,
Yes.
sometimes it can't be viewed in certain places, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the stuff that they have in the Pentagon, right? Shouldn't just be all over the place.
Correct.
Well, when you're a government contractor, you very well may be working with some of these agencies.
Mm-hmm.
Or the project that you're working on might have national security implications. So you need a place that is safe to review and work on these things.
Okay.
So the government has rules about the basic guidelines for building one of these facilities and hardening them. And then each of the various agencies has their own interpretations. So in the event that one of these agencies or a contractor who works for them needs one of these facilities in their house or their secret base, I stand ready to serve.
Well, thank you for explaining it. It kind of solidifies it in our brains when we teach it to others. So hopefully explaining that even helped you a little bit. Now you're even more prepared. Is there a particular project coming up you're looking forward to, or something in the future you're looking forward to right now?
My wife and I had a really great conversation last night. We're reviewing where things are with our clients. And, one of the things that you say in luxury design is every client is your only client. So when I'm with someone, they are my only client. They will never hear I can't because I'm doing something else with someone else, etc. But everybody knows that we have more than one client at a time. It's just the way of business sometimes. So I was talking about all of the existing stuff we're doing and all the stuff on the horizon and how the calendar needs to space these things so that it can work. And she reminded me, we can do anything we want because all of the rendering, all of the design work, all of it that we do, we have the ability to do our own projects as well. So instead of waiting for the next project when we have a little bit of downtime between them, as I'm waiting for shipments from England right now, we can start working on our own dream projects, right? Whether they're our house or something we would have liked to do for a client that they weren't able to do. We want to do a charity project. We can just do it ourselves. So we're looking into what the next most fun thing is.
I like that. I'm excited for you. I'm excited to see what that project is. You'll have to report back.
Well, my C nature makes things too symmetrical, right? So I say the problem is I'm going to design a perfect cube with evenly spaced windows, with perfect doors, everything exactly where I want, and people are going to look at it and go, this is not real, it's not everywhere, it's too perfect. But luckily my artist wife says, oh, don't worry, I will make you something organic and challenging, which I think is an important lesson too, right?
Yeah.
The fun of this stuff isn't just making the perfect symmetrical Lego or Minecraft castle. It's taking the challenge that's there and figuring out an exciting and pleasing solution.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that that eye creative behavior is sometimes a little out of the C's comfort zone. I will recommend, one of my clients is finding great success with the perfectionism workbook. If you need if you need to work through some of these issues,
I will check it out.
But your wife does balance that out for you.
I heard it allows you to doodle in the margins.
Oh no, there's no doodling. No. I remember when I first used that workbook, and I was doing it in pen, and I hadn't discovered the friction pen yet, and so I didn't have my erasable feature, right? And I made a mistake on one of the lines, and I just like sat and stared at it and realized this isn't one of those things where I can like rip out a piece of paper and just start fresh. What am I going to do? And I'm like, do I draw a straight line through it? Do I scribble across it? What is acceptable here? It was like a big dilemma.
You burn the book to hide your shame, and you buy a new one.
Buy a new one?
You start again.
Oh,
right?
Man. I was very challenged in completing that book for sure. Okay, so it's been really helpful to think about some different aspects of the physical environment, and I appreciate that because I knew nothing about interior design before I met you. And I remember you said one time that you deal with everything. If you took the building and flipped it upside down, if it drops, you can help with that too, right? There's like, you help with everything. But what's your favorite? Like, what is your ideal client? And we know your business name is Formal Traditional. So let's talk a little bit about that.
So when I used to work at another place, I started their social media. And I had a series of blogs. And one of the blogs was named Formal Traditional. I think I wrote 3 different blogs for the company in addition to all my other work, right?
Yeah.
So the reason was I viewed all of design as a series of dichotomies. People would come in and they didn't know how to describe what they wanted. They didn't have the lexicon.
Yeah.
So a lot of our job was listening to what they said and hearing what they really meant and translating for them. So people would come in and they would say, I know it when I see it. Well, that's not terribly helpful, right?
Yeah.
Or they would say, I want transitional. And I'm like, no, you don't. Transitional is a softening of the industrial period of decorating characterized by, a softening of curves and an absence of color. And they go, no, that's not what I want. Right. What you want is you want something in the middle. That's what you want. And they go, yes. And I say, there is no in the middle. Say it's either formal or informal. It's either traditional or it's contemporary. What you're worried about is traditional means traditional way out here. And I understand that you can have traditional over here. So for me, traditional is anything that's been popular in the past.
Okay.
And contemporary is anything that has not. So if it's been popular in the past, traditional.
Okay.
There is no between those things. Formal is don't put your feet up. You're going to look at it. It's going to be beautiful, and we're going to be on our best behavior, right? Informal is welcoming. It's inviting. It's put your feet up on the coffee table, right? Or on the ottoman. Well, either the room is you put your feet up on the ottoman, or the room is not you put your feet up on the ottoman. It is either something that people recognize as, oh yes, I've seen this before, and it's, a way that people have solved this design challenge, or it's an innovative way that people haven't thought of to solve these design challenges before. So I break everything down that way. And most people actually want traditional, informal decorating. And when I had to start my company, I went through and checked every single social media to see what names were available. And since no one can spell my first or last name, I went with the name of one of my blogs.
That's cool. I like that story. I don't think I even knew that full story. Look at that. I'm still learning new things about you.
And now people think that they can't work with me if they don't want formal or traditional stuff.
But that's not the case at all. No. Can you explain that?
So our website intentionally shows lots of different styles. I say, like a ghostwriter, it's not my job to, write in my style. I decorate in your voice. I make the decisions on behalf of my clients in the way they would make them if they knew the things that we know. So my ideal client, circling back to leadership, is someone who asks me to help them and then follows where I lead.
I think it's important that they let you go through your process, because your process works, right? And I find that for some people, it's hard to give up control. And so I feel like I heard laughter. Did you hear laughter when I said that people have trouble giving up control? Did you hear that from the other room?
There is no other room. It's just us.
I don't have control issues.
Okay.
Yes, I do. Okay. I do. Okay. Well, anyway, I wasn't talking about myself, but I know for a fact that many people, they bring you in because they don't know anything about design, but they still want to maintain control of the process. But I encourage people to trust the process because it works, right? But I want to tell everybody what my favorite thing is that you do.
Sure.
Being AC, I am not creative or innovative. I cannot envision anything that doesn't already exist in front of me. So you could describe the absolute perfect space for me, and I cannot picture it in my mind's eye. So I love that you guys are able to create this rendering in 3D, and someone can put on a VR headset and literally see what it's going to look like as an end result. Now you take the dominant, the D in me, the results-oriented person. If I can see what that end result looks like, I can trust that I'm making the right decision. Right. But otherwise, I'd be making a blind decision, right? So I just think that is amazing that you guys are able to do that in-house and give people that experience, so that once they look at it and they look around and it's 3D and it's all around them, it's like they're already in the space. And how many times after they see that are they just like, yes, that's it, right?
Pretty much every time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's also because we don't, force them into anything.
Yeah.
Our job is really to collect and price out their wish list. So they tell us as much as they know about what they're looking for. We fill in the blanks. We make all those decisions, as I said, in the way we think they would make them if they knew all the things we know. And then we just show them what it is that they wanted. And at that point, we're a 100% transparent company. So we have everything itemized, all the original prices, what it cost us, where we get it from, and we hand them the budget scissors. So I'm not here to push anyone, right?
Yeah.
I'm here to advise them, but they make the ultimate decision, and we just inform them of some of the unintended consequences of the decisions that they would be making. But we do empower them to make their own decisions.
Yeah. Well, I think that's an amazing feature. And that's actually going to lead into the challenge. So if folks are going to make that one little change, I want them to envision what that perfect space would look like and just take one step forward, right? Whether it's the space in which they're working in, whether it's this weekend I'm going to look at my kitchen and look at it from a different perspective and consider how could I set this up more effectively so that I'm, things are where I need them, whatever it may be. I am going to encourage people to think about their physical environment, report back what you change if it's working for you. But is there anything you want to leave folks with? Final word, final lyric, since you've held back this entire time. So we're slowly revealing. So it's ice cream, it's dogs, it's using vocabulary words that I don't understand. And we've held back this entire episode. He's wanted to use lyrics many times, I'm sure, to express himself. So is there a final lyric? What do you want to leave them with?
No, I'm going to leave them with this. There are an overwhelming number of choices in any of these design decisions. And a lot of people have analysis paralysis, right? Too many options is often worse than not enough. If I have 2 flavors of ice cream, I'm choosing if I want chocolate or if I want vanilla. Perhaps they have twists. But when it is 40 flavors, do I need to try each of them so that I know which one that I really like and want? So the way we suggest you go forward with our challenge is that you think about the experience you want to have in the space. Start by just eliminating something that frustrates you. Just easy. This cord is frayed. I never have a place to plug in, why don't we take one of these outlets and for $3 replace your traditional outlet with an outlet that has a USB in it?
Yes.
That's very, very simple, very easy. Any number of little things like that. Storage is always another one. It's never going to hurt you to get a little more organized. Maybe you go to your kitchen, you open up your spice drawer or shelf, and you consolidate.
Yeah.
I think you will be, as an adult, most of us are actually happier, I believe, eliminating something that frustrates us than adding something we enjoy.
Ooh, I didn't even think about that. That's a great idea. Okay, so now I am going to take on your challenge and figure out what's frustrating me.
You can report back to me on the next podcast how that went.
And I know you will ask. Thank you so much for being here and taking time out of your day. I know you're very busy and have a lot on your plate, so it means a lot. Not just that you're here, but all you've done for me over the past few years. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
of course.
Thank you for having me. And, it goes both ways. Sierra has done an immense amount for me and my business as well. I work with her. I refer people to her all the time. Every time I have an issue, it's much easier to look at someone else and say, this is what you should do. We don't have this objective perspective, this distance that we need from our own stuff. So it's great when you can say, am I being crazy? And have someone say, yes, you're being crazy. So
yes, I do admit it when you're being crazy.
Yes,
I'm
all
not
the
afraid
time.
to say it.
All the time.
Yes, well, you are very welcome, and I'm
you.
glad that I've been able to help. So thank you guys for sticking it out for the whole episode. If you're still here, I hope you found value and you will consider your physical environment, whether at work, at home, or if you have a combo of both, and what you can remove to make that space more effective for you, not necessarily add to. I want to remind you that a new episode comes out every Friday at noon Eastern Standard Time on YouTube and Spotify and all other platforms on Saturday. If you could like, subscribe, follow, anytime that you can share this with others and spread the word of what we can do to lead ourselves more effectively and also be more impactful and influential in other people's lives, I would appreciate it. So thank you so much for your time, and until next time, keep branching out.